It's just a very vibey collection too, is all I can say. That's so annoying of me to describe poetry as vibey. Forgive me. Hello, so I'm here to do a wrap up of June and July, the books I read in June and July. So far my summer reading has been chaotic. I posted this picture on my Instagram talking about July hopefuls, and I didn't do too bad. So just stick and see which of the books in this image I actually read and which ones I didn't. But as an unreliable mood reader, I go off of total urge, and I have intentions of reading books in the beginning of the month, and then I just totally go off kilter. So for the month of August, I don't really have a plan. I'm just gonna go with the vibes. Anyways, I'm here to talk about the books that I read. I have 8 books to talk about. Some poetry, literary fiction, actually just poetry and literary fiction. Alright, so the first book, I believe I did mention already on my channel, and that is Vladimir by Julia May Jones. Vladimir follows an unreliable woman narrator. She's a white woman in her 50s. She is an English teacher. This details her spiraling obsession over Vladimir, who is a new professor at the university. Becomes obsessed with him. Like some commentary on power dynamics in academia. You'll see a lot goes on in this novel as the unnamed narrator's husband is facing allegations and is on trial for misconduct, specifically engaging in inappropriate relationships with his students. We learn how the unnamed narrator has been complicit in this, and it's really a commentary in the ways in which people who have privilege, who have access to power, become complicit with those who abuse their power. I thought Vladimir was very interesting. I loved the somewhat like unnerving, unsettling undertones within this book. There's a lot of imagery and motifs to like wild animals lurking in the shadows, and you have no idea when they're going to attack. So that was a very like interesting thing that stuck out to me in this novel. Just a warning though before you go into this, there is like a lot also on like how women have access to beauty and use beauty to obtain power. So overall, this was a very interesting book, an unexpected favorite of mine, honestly. I had the urge to pick this up as a unreliable mood reader myself, and I was pleasantly surprised. And honestly, when I get the urge to pick up something, it usually is a banger for me, like I'm not gonna lie. So that was Vladimir by Julia May Jones. Kind of like in the same vein of Big Swiss when it comes to obsession and doing whatever you can to maintain the object of your obsession. And I also read another book that follows this motif of obsession. So I'm going to talk about them a little later on in this video. And then up next, something in my brain just shifted and I said, you need to read more poetry. I haven't really read as much poetry up until this point. So I have like 3 poetry books I'm going to very briefly talk about. The first one being What to Eat, What to Drink, What to Leave for Poison. This is by Camille Dungy. I loved this poetry collection. It was so good. Honestly, it's like a very naturalistic poem. I'm a big dog ear of pages, and as you can see, every other page in this has been dog-eared. Just a very moving work of poetry. It examines the beauty of nature as a means to meditate on the human condition. All things that I love reading in poetry. Really for fans of Mary Oliver, so if you are have the same poetry taste as me, absolutely read this. Just very romantic poetry. Definitely a good summer read as well, and loved it. So if you watched the vlog that I posted in June, I read the 2 poetry collections that I purchased from the record store, the first one being Customs, and this is by Solamz Sharif. This felt like a poetry collection that explores liminal spaces. That's that just explores the area of the in-between, what it means to be in between places. Specifically, Customs is a poetry collection that centers on immigration, politics, power, the devastation of war, and then also trying to find a home in a place that is not your true home. This collection was really good. Honestly, not my favorite poetry collection that I've read so far this year, but definitely still very, very valuable. And I think that if you are one who likes reading about the experience of migrating and feeling in between two places, trying to find a connection between your ancestry and then also establishing a new home in a new environment, I would definitely recommend this. But yeah, beautiful collection, and clearly I had a thing for red books this in June. This is what I read in June. Satan Says by Sharon, and oh my god, favorite poetry collection I've read this year. Like, hands down, it would be No Sweet Without Brine by Cynthia Manick. I read earlier this year. What to Eat, What to Drink, What to Leave for Poison is like in the number 2 spot. This is taking the cake for me. I love this collection so much. An exploration of girlhood begins at conception, child girlhood, into adolescence, into being a young woman who is single, into being a married woman. But more specifically, as the title might suggest, it is an exploration of girlhood through like religious angst and through creation, through what drives us, our like baser impulses, the nasty parts of being human. And I ate this up. Now, I'm not like into the evil vibes, you know what I'm saying? But I didn't feel as though this was evil. It was just more so like an exploration of the things that make it like the ugly side of being a human, specifically of being a girl and having your first period and what that's like, to your first relationships, to motherhood, like your anxieties, your fears. It was just so good. Sharon Olds, quickly becoming one of my favorite poets. Love her so much. Definitely recommend for fans of like Lana Del Rey, Ethel Cain. It's just a very vibey collection too, is all I can say. That's so annoying of me to describe poetry as vibey. Forgive me. Okay, up next, I have like a ongoing TBR, writer's TBR, that I did a video about a while ago, and I finally read In the Margins by Elena Ferrante on the pleasures of reading and writing. Absolutely love Elena Ferrante. I love her as a novelist. I am halfway through. I've read book 1 and 2 of the Neapolitan Quartet, My Brilliant Friend. I've read The Lost Daughter, and now this. So I'm a fan. And basically, as the title suggests, it's on the pleasures of reading and writing. It's a series of lectures that Elena Ferrante would have given. But if you don't know the history behind Elena Ferrante is a pseudonym, and no one knows the true identity of Elena Ferrante. No one has ever seen her. No one knows what she looks like. So she wrote out these lectures. There was a person who was hired to read the lectures, but due to COVID, that didn't happen, I want to say, and now they're published here. But thank God, because it's so good. My favorite essay was the first essay, and it's called Pain and Pen, and it's just all about Elena Ferrante's like writing process, specifically in the margins, staying in the margins, and the importance of structure and form for the like dissolving of I that a writer experiences, the sensibilities a writer takes on when writing. And Elena Ferrante goes into detail about this term like fragmentulia. I can never pronounce that, but basically the fragmented I that she experiences as a writer and where she writes from. It was very fascinating. Never related to something more. Whoa, I'm holding it backwards this entire time. Never related to something more, and it was just such an amazing, inspiring collection. Definitely recommend. Okay, up next, I read The Absolutes by Molly Dektar, and this was sent to me by the publisher before it came out. But it is out already. Within this, we follow Nora, who is an aspiring artist. but she never fully commits to her art. She works at a startup company with her friend, but basically we meet Nora with wavering mental health. Please check content warnings. There's self-harm mentioned here. And in this, Nora becomes infatuated with Nicola, who is an Italian nobleman. His family is notorious in Italy for being very skeptical and just doing immoral things in order to obtain power and wealth. So Nora becomes infatuated with him. She meets him when she is a teenager, and then a little later on in her life, where the relationship begins and the lines get very blurry. This is definitely not a book you should read if you are under the age of 18. I would say that. It's really truly about the absolving of the self and identity and agency in a relationship in order to obtain the object of your obsession and to keep it, and doing things that you might disagree with, but you just feel so compelled by this person. And honestly, to me, it serves as like a cautionary like warning. I found this book hard to get through at times, I'm not gonna lie. Like, just what Nora was doing was so infuriating, and I really was hate reading Nicola. Like, I did not like him as a character, but that's the point. You just don't like him, and you don't like her for being where she is, and it just like kind of infuriates you. But like I said, I believe that is the point of the novel, to see like just like to show once again, it's like a cautionary tale of where obsession can take you. So unchecked obsession. So yeah, I read Self-Care by Leigh Stein. The Absolutes was a very dark, like I said, kind of like I needed a change of pace. And Self-Care by Leigh Stein is a satire on the self-care industry, on white feminism, on like social media and content creation. I really like this book. I don't really read satire that frequently, but I thought it was fun, and the satire was very real and effective for me because it was totally believable. I thought of so many instances in like the beauty community, for instance, where people turn out to be terrible individuals, like personalities, but it's masked by like this whole outwardly appearance of maintaining our physical bodies and like doing the face masks and the jade roller, and you know, which is great, but this book really highlights the ways in which the healthcare industry can be kind of stupid. Yeah, anyways, I like this book. I thought it was a good palate cleanser for me. Leigh Stein sent this to me, the author. I'm friends with her on TikTok, which is pretty cool. So I would recommend, if you are familiar with like the self-care industry, or if you used to watch like the beauty community and you follow influencers, like all the drama of the beauty community a few years ago in like the early 2010s, I felt like I was thinking of this. Or even more recently, like how these industries addressed or tried to display activism when it came to like the Black Lives Matter movement, George Floyd, everything that was really going on in 2020. So yeah, I really like this, and I thought that the characters and the satire was pretty spot on and accurate. And last but not least, on the last second, I listened to the audiobook of Couplets by Maggie Millner. I literally just finished this last night at like 11 o'clock. I'm filming this on August 1st, so I don't know when it'll go up, but yeah, Couplets by Maggie Nelson is this, it's a love story told in verse. The speaker of the poems has a seemingly normal life with her longtime boyfriend, and one day she meets a woman in a bar and she's attracted to this woman, and then it's uncovered by the reader that this speaker has always been attracted to women, but she's never really acted out on it. And when she meets this woman, she decides to enter her first queer relationship. So it details that, and I really loved the poetry. I love the audiobook. Maggie Millner reads the poetry herself, which always feels like a additional experience, or like a heightened level of experience when reading. and I really, really liked it. Were a lot of great moments in this collection. She quotes like Maggie Nelson, Jamaica Kincaid. She uses a lot of literary musings on love to detail her relationship with this woman. And more so, this poetry or this novel in verse ponders the question of what relationships truly do to us. Like, do they mold us? Do they shape us? Or are we a singular I in this moment? And does our experiences in relationships stay in that relationship and don't go with us as we go forward in life? Really, really great. Definitely recommend it. It was easy breezy collection to listen to on audio, and I really enjoyed it. Thank you so much for being here. I felt like I was just jabbering away, running my mouth in this wrap up. But if you read any of these, let me know what you thought, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Bye.